Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stories of the Dark. I am your host, Glen Clark, and tonight we're going to be talking about haunted hotels. And I'm even going to read a story on the Cecil Hotel, which is now renamed. That's in Los Angeles. But first, I'd like to say that you can now find some of my podcasts anyway on Pinecast. I've now joined that, so that means that I'm on SoundCloud, PodOMatic, and now Pinecast. I'm also on YouTube, and you can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, also Tumblr. All the links will be in the bottom of the video in the description. So right now, let's get to some reading here. Want to read for you the top 9 most haunted hotels in California. And it says California is best known for being full of sunshine and celebrities. However, there is also a much darker side that includes a whole host of haunted hotels, inns, and other accommodation. Let's take a look at some of the most haunted accommodation in California. Number 9, the Hotel del Coronado in Coronado. The Hotel del Coronado is fairly upmarket, but that does not make it any less proud to be considered one of the most haunted hotels in California. The property is famously haunted by the ghost of a woman named Kate Morgan, who was believed to have been the murdered wife of a card shark circa the 1800s. Reports of paranormal activity in the hotel include faucets turning on by themselves and unexplained noises. Regular ghost nights are offered, and guests can rent the most haunted rooms at the property at a special rate. So if you'd like to book a room there, then go ahead and book a room there and see what happens. Number 8, the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles. One hotel in California is particularly well known for having some very famous ghostly residents. The Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel was home to a number of celebrities back in its heyday, and it appears that some of them have stuck around after death. Among the spirits said to roam the halls are Montgomery Clift and Marilyn Monroe. For a time in the 1950s, Marilyn Monroe took up residence in Suite 1200, and while the room itself is not particularly haunted, people frequently report seeing her reflection in a mirror in the lobby, which used to hang in her room. Meanwhile, actor Montgomery Clift is said to be haunting his old room number 928 and can be heard running lines in the room. Other ghosts said to be haunting the hotel include a little girl named Caroline, who apparently drowned in the hotel pool. Number 7, the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula. The Glen Tavern Inn started out as a brothel and gambling den over the years it has had a very colorful history. This may explain why it is now known for being haunted. Guests often report cold spots, shadowy figures, and disembodied voices. Among the resident spirits there is at least one little girl, although many believe there are multiple children here, who is seen and heard laughing on the second floor. Room 307 is said to be haunted by a ghost named Calvin and a prostitute who was found decapitated in the closet during the Prohibition era. Number 6, the Queen Mary, and we've done a show on that. The 1,019-foot-long ship, the Queen Mary, is now permanently moored in Long Beach and serves as a hotel with a reputation for being haunted. There are said to be a vast number of spirits, including the vessel haunting the vessel, believed to date back to its time and service as a troop transporter, refugee carrier, and passenger ship. The hotspots on board include the engine rooms, the nursery, and a number of passenger cabins. They also do paranormal tours on that ship, as you know, and hopefully here in the coming months, I would like to go myself and BlakCircleGirl maybe go and do one of those tours and see what it's all about, and maybe I'll try to sneak in a recorder and try to take some audio for the program. Alright, continuing on. Number 5, the Napa River Inn in Napa, California. Most people head to Napa because it's the heart of wine country, but for paranormal enthusiasts, there is also plenty of ghostly fun on offer. The Napa River Inn is a great example of haunted accommodation in California, with the first reports of paranormal activity dating back to the early 1900s. One spirit who is regularly spotted is Captain Albert Hatt Jr., the son of the original owner. Guests and staff have also seen Robert Keeg's spirit, another former owner. However, the most prominent spirit on the Napa River is a woman dressed in all in white. The Union Hotel in Benicia, California. Union Hotel sits in the very heart of the historic Californian town of Benicia. It was built in 1882 and stands as a reminder of the colorful past that California has had. It also happens to be one of the most haunted hotels in California. Sometime in the late 1800s, it is claimed that a young woman hanged herself in her hotel room, and she is now haunting the property. She is often seen looking out of one of the hotel room windows, and guests have reported hearing her talking and crying at all hours of the night. The Chateau Marmont in West Hollywood. The Chateau Marmont in West Hollywood is best known as a celebrity hangout, but what most people do not know is that it is apparently haunted. The ghost is believed to be the spirit of comedian John Belushi, who died from a drug overdose in one of the bungalows in the early 1980s. Bungalow 3 was where he died, and many who stay there describe feeling his presence, and people do not like to look in the mirror. One young boy who had no knowledge of the death or of who Belushi was claimed to have seen him in the bungalow during his family's stay and was able to pick him out of a selection of photographs. That one I'd certainly love to go see, because I was a pretty big John Belushi fan still am of many of his movies, including the Blues Brothers, which we watched not too long ago. A very, very good movie. Number 2, the Zabala House in Half Moon Bay. It is believed that Zabala House is the oldest house in Half Moon Bay and is also one of the most haunted. Room 6 is the hub of paranormal activity in the hotel, and guests report hearing jangling keys, alarms going off, and windows rattling. Despite this, the owner denies any knowledge of a ghost in the hotel. Well, for that reason, for him, I'm sure, there's been reports. The owner denies it. He probably doesn't want to have all the notoriety, and in a lot of ways, I don't blame him. And number 1, Armagosa Opry House and Hotel in Death Valley. The Armagosa Opera House and Hotel was built in 1923 as part of a company town built by the Pacific Coast Borax Company. There is little left of the town these days aside from the Opera House and Hotel and a scattering of empty buildings. However, it still attracts lots of visitors who come to stay for the chance of encountering one of the many ghosts said to reside here. These include a little child who is thought to have drowned in a bathtub, a spirit cat, and the malevolent spirit of a man who is hanged in one of the rooms. And that ends the reading from hauntedrooms.com. You can go have a look at that, and they also have other links to haunted hotels and also haunted locations. Right now I'd like to go ahead and share a YouTube video with you, and later on in the description of this video, I'm gonna also have the surveillance video from the Hotel Cecil, where Alicia Lamb, you probably heard about her, and later on I'm going to be reading a story about that, where she was found dead in basically in the hotel's water tank, and that's still, a lot of people say that she was forced up there by a paranormal entity of some kind. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and share for you right now. It's going to be as soon as I can get it to load
out the
here,
window.
which I don't want that right now, but isn't recording a live podcast fun? Anyway, this is 20 haunted hotels you don't want to visit, and it comes from the Wacky, and you can go and have a look at their page and subscribe if you like what you see. So here is the 20 haunted hotels you don't want to visit.
There are very few places in the world that have absorbed as much emotion as hotels. They see joy of families on vacation to the desperation of drug dealers and prostitutes alike. From terrifying spirits who appear behind visitors in the rooms they sleep in, to a white-haired bellhop helping guests only to vanish before they have a chance to tip him. We take a look at 20 haunted hotels you don't want to visit. Number 20. Ballygally Castle Hotel, Northern Ireland. Built in 1625, Ballygally Castle might have a less than intimidating name, but it possesses quite a formidable history. One of its former residents was James Shaw, husband of Lady Isabel. Poor Isabel is said to have crossed her husband somehow, and Shaw had his wife imprisoned in the turret room where, starving to death, she flung herself out the window to her dorm. Lady Isabel has since proven a very active presence in the castle, appearing frequently to guests and knocking on guest doors at odd hours. James Shaw himself might also be present, and it is rumoured that he was poisoned inside the castle. Also, another spirit, one Madame Nixon, has been seen in a swirling, elegant dress. The mischievous laughter of children has also been heard tinkling throughout the hallways. Number 19. Russell Hotel, Sydney, Australia. Australia has had a rough and tumble history with its origins as a British penal colony. The Russell Hotel shares those same dark origins. It served as a hospital during the deadly outbreak of smallpox and bubonic plague, and later became a rooming house and hostel for sailors. Guests of room 8 report waking up to find a dark presence looming over their bed, peering down at them. Others claim to have seen the ghost of prostitutes wandering the hall or opening doors and then closing them. Some claim that the recent renovations on the old sandstone building have only served to rile up the old spirits. Number 18. Akasaka Weekly Mansion, Tokyo, Japan. The Japanese have always been serious about their ghosts, and Tokyo has been the home of tales regarding the faceless ghost, a terrifying spirit who appears normal until a person approaches. When it turns to acknowledge you, it exposes a white face completely blank of features. One of the most haunted places in Tokyo is rumored to be the Akasaka Weekly Mansion, an extended stay apartment where guests have reported apparitions, ghostly mists, and feelings of disembodied hands touching them while they sleep. Number 17. Hotel Castello della Castellcere, Rome, Italy. One of the world's most ancient cities, more blood has been spilled on the soil of Rome than nearly anywhere else on Earth. A renovated 11th century castle described by some guests as something out of a fairy tale has experienced its fair share of history, changing hands many times and serving as the home to many upper-class families. But this legacy has left its shadows. It is said to be haunted by 3 ghosts, possibly including the mad Emperor Nero who wanders through the gardens, and guests have reported seeing spectral horses passing by in the night. Number 16. Hotel Chelsea, New York. The Hotel Chelsea was built between 1883 and 1885. Although it was the home of countless artists, authors, poets, and musicians, it was probably best known as the place where Sex Pistols' Bassad Sid Vicious stabbed his girlfriend Nancy to death. Vicious himself died of a heroin overdose before the case could be brought to trial. And poet Dylan Thomas was staying at the Chelsea when he fell into his fatal coma. He died later in hospital. But it's possible Sid Vicious and Dylan Thomas never left Hotel Chelsea after all. Their ghosts have been spotted wandering the halls at night. Other guests have reported all manners of paranormal phenomena, from cold air to phantom footsteps to lights that switch on and off at will. The Hotel Chelsea is currently closed to new residents while undergoing renovations. Number 15. The Stanley, Colorado, USA. This creepy hotel inspired one of the greatest horror novels of all time, The Shining. Legend has it that when Stephen King and his wife stayed here, they briefly left their hotel room only to return and find their suitcase unpacked and their things stowed away in the closets. Guests at the hotel include the ghost of a woman who froze to death in the basement, and the building's former owner, F.O. Stanley, roams the halls supervising the hotel from beyond the grave. Number 14. Karosta Prison Hotel, Latvia. Bring your nerves of steel if you plan on spending the night in this former military prison. Used by the Nazis and the Soviets, the prison walls still depict the graffiti of former prisoners, which makes for chilling bedtime reading. And guests will have company in the form of a ghost of a woman who hung herself after learning her fiancé was executed here. Number 13. Hotel del Coronado, USA. Investigators have yet to solve the mystery behind the unusual activity reported at this hotel following an unexplained death of Kate Morgan, who was found dead just days after she had checked in. Guests who have stayed in her room have witnessed the flickering of lights, the television turning on by itself, and even a woman standing by the window. This resort, built in 1888, has had a host of famous visitors, including former presidents. And guests continue to see ghosts throughout the hotel to this day. Number 12. The Crescent Hotel, Arkansas, USA. Ghost hunters should book a night in room 218 of this hotel to meet Michael. Legend has it that Michael reaches for guests from the bathroom mirror, and he is said to be one of the ghosts of a stone mason who fell to his death during construction of the hotel. A former cancer hospital, the Crescent Hotel is haunted by the ghosts of former nurses who can be seen pushing corpses around on gurneys. And guests often wake up to find their clothes scattered about the room. Number 11. The Chillingham Castle, England. The appropriately named Chillingham Castle is definitely not for the faint-hearted. Guests can visit the torture chamber where traitors met a grisly end on their executioner's block, which still remains in place along with various items such as thumbscrews and eye gouges. And its current owners market the castle as being the most haunted castle in Britain. The most famous ghost of the castle is the Blue or Radiant Boy, who, according to owners, used to haunt the Pink Room in the castle. And guests supposedly report seeing blue flashes and or a blue halo light above their beds after hearing a loud wail. It is claimed that the haunting ceased after renovation work revealed the bones of a man and a young boy inside a 10-foot thick wall. Number 10. Le Pavilion Hotel, New Orleans. Built in 1907, the hotel's website describes it as a place where guests can instantly conjure the days of gentle luxury, romantic evenings, and glittering nights. Guests might also have a brush with the dead. The Le Pavilion is reportedly haunted by at least 5 different ghosts. The most famous of these is Ada, a tearful teenage spirit killed by a runaway carriage who has been known to bump into people in the lobby, claiming to be lost, then vanishing. Ada might even predate the construction of the hotel itself, and witnesses claim that she's dressed in the style of the mid-1800s. Number 9. La Fonda Hotel. The current La Fonda Hotel was built in 1922 on the site of the previous inns. For more than 40 years, from 1926 to 1968, La Fonda was one of the famous Harvey houses, a renowned chain of fine hotels. Today, the La Fonda Hotel was said to host not only travelers visiting Santa Fe, but also several ghosts. Some people believe that the Honorable Judge Sloth continues to walk its hallways. However, most often reported as the ghost of the distraught salesman who jumped into the well after losing all of his company's money. Number 8. Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, Canada. Located high in the Canadian Rockies, the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel calls to mind a beautiful medieval castle in the wilderness. The Fairmont management denies any ghostly activities, but stories abound. One spirit frequently witnessed is that of a bride allegedly killed in a tragic accident right before walking down the aisle. The other, far more whimsical tale involves an elderly bellhop named Sam Macaulay. Sam so adored the hotel that, after he passed, he continued to work there. Some guests report a white-haired bellhop helping them, only to vanish before they have a chance to tip him. Number 7. Queen Mary in California. The Queen Mary was the premier ocean liner for transatlantic travel, carrying celebrities of all types. During World War II, it was painted grey and used as a troop ship, but after the war was over, it was returned to its former grandeur. The Queen Mary was retired from service in 1967 and permanently docked in Long Beach, California, where it became a floating hotel. Although dozens of people died on the ship over the years, including at least 2 men crushed by a door in the engine room. Ghostly women in 1930s-styled bathing suits are often spotted around the swimming pool, and telephones ring without benefit of callers. And the forlorn cries of children are heard in the night. Unlike many hotels which downplay alleged paranormal activity, the Queen Mary embraces its spectral residents, offering daily ghost tours. Number 6. Talbot Hotel, England. Being noted as one of the most haunted hotels in England, it contains objects from a former castle that existed in the 1500s. Most notable was the castle's oak staircase, which found its way into this hotel. Legend has it that a woman named Mary walked down those very stairs on the way to her own execution, leaving the mark of a crown on the wood from a ring she was wearing at the time. And even though she had been dead for over 400 years, Mary has not slept easy. Her ghost has been seen walking down that very staircase. Furniture has been moved around, and a portrait of Mary has been known to leap from the wall. Number 5. Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. The Roosevelt Hotel is one of the most famous hotels in Los Angeles and one of the most haunted places in the world. The Roosevelt is nearly as famous for its big-name ghosts, including Marilyn Monroe and Montgomery Cliff. And some of the haunting activities include Marilyn Monroe's ghost has been seen reflected in a mirror in room 229 and dancing in the hotel's ballroom. Montgomery Clift's ghost is thought to haunt room 928, where he stayed while filming the movie From Here to Eternity, and can still be heard playing his trumpet. One guest who stayed in that room felt patting on her shoulder by an unseen hand as she lay in bed reading. Number 4. Hawthorne Hotel, Massachusetts, USA. Located in the infamous town of Salem, where 20 women were hung during the witch trials of 1692, the Hawthorne Hotel sits on the site of the former apple orchard belonging to Bridget Bishop, who was one of those first women to be executed. Guests staying at the hotel report seeing the ghost of a crying child in their room, and others have felt the touch of invisible hands. Number 3. Pluckley, England. Pluckley is a village in Kent, England, near Ashford, and while it is relatively small, it has been classified as the most haunted village in England, with at least 12 recorded hauntings and another 4 potential ghosts. There has been many tragic deaths in the village, and the odd concentration may be due to the location of the village in terms of magnetism in the ground. Paranormal activity is believed to flourish in areas of strong geological magnetism. A phantom coach and even horses have been rumored to appear at the top of a hill, and brave guests can take a walk in the nearby Screaming Woods. Number 2. The Ragged Cot, England. This coaching inn is said to be haunted by the spirits of a mother and a child who died at the property. One night, a former landlord of the inn decided to rob a stagecoach heading to London. His wife tried to dissuade him from doing so and went after him, holding her baby in her arms. As the man pushed her aside, both his wife and child fell to their deaths down the stairs. Mortified, he hid their bodies in a trunk. He was arrested for the robbery, but as he was led away by the police, it was said that the ghosts of his wife and child were seen walking back up the stairs. Number 1. The Langham Hotel in London. London's Langham Hotel opened in 1865 and has been visited by several greats, including Mark Twain, Oscar Wilde, and Arthur Conan Doyle. It has also reportedly been frequented by a number of ghosts, the most common of which is a sighting of a man in Victorian evening wear in room 333, who apparently appears only during the month of October. Another guest claimed to have seen the figure of a man in military attire standing by the window on the 4th floor, which is said to be the ghost of a German prince who jumped out of a window before the start of the First World War. It is also believed that Napoleon III, another former guest, haunts the basement of the hotel. The hotel is said to be one of the most ghostly places in the world, and for that reason has to be one of the most haunted hotels you don't want to visit.
And that was 20 of the haunted hotels you don't want to visit from the Wacky. You can go ahead and take a look at their page and like and subscribe if you like, and also give me a like and subscribe. Need all the subscribers I can get on my YouTube channel. Also, you can find me again on SoundCloud, PodOMatic, and now Pinecast. So go ahead and have a look at those. Alright, right now we're going to take a little break and play some music, and I'll come back and play some more videos and read from more websites. I'm Glen Clark, and this is Stories of the Dark. welcome back to Stories of the Dark. I am Glen Clark, and we're talking about haunted hotels. And have you ever stayed in a haunted hotel? If you have, or one that was supposedly haunted, please comment on my video or even on my Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, either one of those, or even send me an email. You can email me anytime at storiesofthedark1@gmail.com. That's storiesofthedark1@gmail.com. And as I said in my last program, I am putting together a Halloween show. So we're probably going to change the name of the program up a little bit for Halloween. But I am looking for your best, scariest, true or not stories. It doesn't matter to me as long as they're good and they're really scary. You can also email those to me as well, and I'll read over them, and we'll read those on the show, and maybe by then I'll be set up to take some calls, and maybe even use through Skype, and we'll maybe get some of you on to tell some of your stories for me. I'd like to do that. So anyway, we're gonna play another YouTube video for you. It comes from Scary Mysteries. It's the 5 most haunted hotels in America, and don't be surprised if they mention a few that I've already read about and was in the last video. And if there is, well, I apologize for that. So anyway, we'll go ahead and start the video, and I'll come back and read some more from websites. I'm Glen Clark, and this is Stories of the Dark.
Hotels are places of refuge. Whether you're on vacation or a business trip, it serves as your temporary home. Some hotels have had a long, storied history, and as you'll see in this list, many of them aren't pleasant. These are the 5 most haunted hotels in America. Number 5. Shanley Hotel, New York. Built in 1895, the Shanley Hotel in Naponic, New York, takes the term haunted seriously. Enough so that every guest who spends the night has to be over 16 years old and supposedly made to sign a waiver just in case something happens. One look at it would make you think twice about even approaching the property, let alone spending the night there. It sits on a street corner with its distinct Dutch colonial architecture and peeling white paint, like it was pulled straight out of a horror film. While the building has had several different owners, the most notable one is James Shanley. He bought the property in 1895 and lived there with his wife Beatrice and their children. James and his family were happy there and welcomed various famous guests, including Thomas Edison and Eleanor Roosevelt. However, despite the ups, the family was beset with tragedies. Beatrice gave birth to 3 children, but all of them died before they even turned a year old. In 1911, the hotel barber's daughter died when she wandered and fell down a well. Then in 1918, Beatrice's sister died on the property when she suffered from influenza. Even James himself died in the hotel in 1937. These are just some of the more notable deaths that occurred here, and with so many, it's no surprise that rumors of hauntings would surface. Those who have stayed at the hotel say that paranormal experiences come with it. There have been reports of cold and hot spots, apparitions, children's laughter, the feeling of being touched and watched, and even objects moving on their own. One of the more popular apparitions seen is the ghost of 3-year-old Rosie Greger, who was the daughter of the hotel barber who died in the well. A boy that lived next door also was killed nearby when he was run over by a car. This is apart from the deaths of the Shanley's children, hence it's no surprise that guests often report hearing children's laughter echoing in certain areas, and sometimes feeling a tug or two on their clothes. A man committed suicide in the Blue Room during the 1929 market crash, and various prostitutes were also supposedly murdered in various rooms as well. The Shanley Hotel also had a secret speakeasy that operated until 1932, when it was finally raided and shut down. This speakeasy was often used by the mob for various criminal activities. This accounts for the reported sightings of figures and faces that seem as though they are handcuffed. Currently, the Shanley Hotel is taking guests. They're open to paranormal investigators and people alike who want to experience what it's like to spend some time with the undead. Number 4. The Queen Anne Hotel, California. Underneath its gorgeous and historic pink Victorian facade, the Queen Anne Hotel is home to several ghost and various paranormal occurrences. First established in 1889 by Senator James G. Fair, it was initially a girls' boarding school. Named the Mary Lake School for Girls, it opened in 1890 and was received with much acclaim in San Francisco. James created the school not just as a business, but also so that his 2 daughters would have a place of education and boarding once they arrived in the city. He was said to have had a strained relationship with his girls, and it was his way of trying to win them back. He was also known in the area to be a ladies' man, and one of his mistresses was actually a lady named Mary Lake. She eventually became the head mistress of the upper-class boarding school. Mary loved her job and was known to be very strict with her students. However, despite the school's success, it was closed unexpectedly in 1896. Mary was heartbroken over this and disappeared one night, never to be heard from again. Eventually, the school passed on to various owners. It served as a Cosmos Gentlemen's Club at some point before it was transformed into a luxurious B&B in 1995. This place holds many weddings and is popular with guests, but over the years, those who have stayed here have reported various paranormal and odd happenings inside. The staff admits that the elevator sometimes runs on its own at night with no human presence around. Cold spots and even apparitions are also cited, the most notable of which is that of former head mistress Mary Lake. Guests at the hotel have said they've seen her ghost, particularly in room 410, which was the same room she occupied during her tenure. The unusual thing is that she is considered a friendly ghost, often more helpful than scary. For instance, one man recounted that he got to the hotel late at night and was so tired from the trip, he immediately fell asleep on the bed. When he woke up the next morning, he was surprised to find himself carefully tucked in with a blanket, despite not having done so before going to bed. Other guests have mentioned being surprised at finding their suitcases unpacked for them without ever doing so themselves, and fallen items are often picked up and replaced before guests have had a chance to do so. Today, the Queen Anne Hotel remains a historic location in the San Francisco area, as well as a celebrated spooky haunt for those who dare to stay there. Number 3. The Queen Mary Hotel, California. Considered as one of the most popular transatlantic liners during the 50s, the Queen Mary ocean liner first set sail in 1936. It was a luxury liner decked out with various amenities unheard of during the era. It had a built-in pool, library, salons, several cocktail lounges, lush dining rooms, and elegant sleeping quarters. It was even fitted with a Jewish prayer room with the hopes of distancing itself from the racism growing out of Germany during the time. When World War II came, the liner was transformed into a military boat where it held more than 800,000 captives, soldiers, and prisoners of war during its service. After the war, the Queen Mary and its sister ship, the Queen Elizabeth, were both retired and sold off. Queen Mary completed her 1,000th voyage in 1967 and then was officially retired from service completely. Soon enough, it was permanently docked in Long Beach and transformed into a hotel. To do so, everything below the sea deck of the ship was gutted and taken out. This increased the total area of the ship to 400,000 square feet, making room for museums and other amenities. Because of its rich and varied past, when the Queen Mary was transformed, stories of hauntings and other paranormal experiences became the norm. Staff as well as guests reported feeling uneasy in certain areas. Two prominent spots that often receive sightings of shadowy figures as well as various ghosts are the boiler room and the bow. It's said that during wartime the vessel accidentally ran over a smaller boat, causing a huge accident. It took hours before rescue came to help the damaged ship, and by the time it did, only 99 people survived out of the more than 400 that were on board. Those who died in the accident are said to haunt the Queen Mary after what it had done to them. Additionally, people have said they've been woken up at night with someone poking them in the face. Even the captain has said he once explored a deeper part of the ship and knocked twice on the side of the wall, only to be shocked that a return knock from the other side came back. Reports of the apparitions of two women have also been seen. These are supposed to be the ghosts of the two ladies that died in the pool during its heyday. Then there's room B340. Although no one knows for sure why it's so active, staff and those who have entered say that it's one of the most notorious sites for paranormal activity. Everything from strange noises to lights turning on and off have occurred, and much of the staff today refuses to even go there. The room itself has been gutted and no one has used it since, but it's reported that those who dare enter can still experience the same unusual phenomenon every time. The Queen Mary is currently operating as a hotel, so if you're feeling up to it, it's the perfect way to spend the night if you're ready for a bit of a scare. Number 2, the Chelsea Hotel, New York. First built in 1884, the Chelsea has become famous because so many talented artists, writers, poets, actors, and musicians have at one time or another called it home, even if it was just for a short while. This 250-unit hotel can be found in the heart of New York City. Some of the most notable names that have stayed there include William Burroughs, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Stanley Kubrick, Andy Warhol, and Madonna. There are many that have passed away there as well, including poet Dylan Thomas, who died in room 205 from pneumonia. Perhaps the most notable death, however, was that of Nancy Spungen in October of 1978 in room 100. Nancy was the girlfriend of the Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious. She was found stabbed to death in their bathtub while Vicious was unconscious after a drug-fueled bender. There were also several suicides committed here, including that of Charles Jackson, the author of The Lost Weekend. Today, while the hotel is declared a historical landmark, it's also known for something else: its infamous hauntings. Guests and people who have stayed at the building say that the ghosts of those who died there can still be seen all around the hotel. Reports of cold spots, unusual gusts of wind even though the windows and doors are closed, misplaced items and loud banging or footsteps in the hallways are just some of the unusual phenomenon that go on at the Chelsea. Many people have said to have seen an apparition of a woman, and it's believed to be that of Nancy Spungen roaming around the halls near where she died. There's also several sightings of a man who keeps being seen around room 205, the room where poet Dylan Thomas died. Those that have stayed here have also claimed to seeing an apparition of a woman staring back at them in the mirror. Apparently, she is supposed to be a lady named Mary who was a survivor of the ill-fated Titanic. And though she didn't die on the boat, her husband did. The Chelsea Hotel actually served as a place of refuge for those who survived the accident, since it was located close to port. The Chelsea Hotel is currently under renovation, but plans to reopen by 2018. Number 1, Logan Inn, Pennsylvania. Settled in the picturesque area of New Hope, Pennsylvania, lies the historical Logan Inn. This landmark structure was first built as a humble tavern in 1722 and sits close to the Delaware River, as well as the famous Bucks County Playhouse. With over 3 centuries of history, it's no surprise the inn has garnered a few ghost stories since its inception. It's a favorite haunt for paranormal experts and ghost hunters who believe that the inn houses more than just a few ghouls in its halls and rooms. There have been 8 prominent spirits that have been sighted and felt throughout the building, but those who run the place believe that there could be many more. One of the most active is that of Emily. It's believed she's the mother of one of the former owners of the inn. Emily is considered a bit of a prankster as she constantly rearranges items in the rooms and often throws the windows open for no reason. What's more, she even appears as a mist hovering above the bed, spooking many guests into running out of their rooms in the middle of the night. There are also claims that there's 2 children roaming the halls, as well as various Revolutionary War soldiers marching to the beat of a phantom drum. One popular story happened in 1946 when an annual fair was held at the Logan Inn's parking lot. A palm reader by the name of Parker Den, along with his customers, began hearing the loud sobbing of a young child. These were uncontrollable cries, and they couldn't figure out who it was since there were no children around at the time. This happened on the first day of the fair, and Parker Den closed up shop and then went to get a drink. But the next day, the same uncontrollable sobbing came back again. Several people heard it, and when the fair finally ended, the sobbing did as well. This would have been left off as one of the more mysterious events in the hotel, but surprisingly, the same uncontrollable sobbing began again the following year in the exact same spot. No child was ever found crying, and the fair was never held there again. Another chilling apparition is that of a voyeuristic man that mysteriously appears in the vanity mirrors in the bathrooms. Women who use the mirror are horrified to see the face of a man behind them, but when they turn around, no one's there. Today, the Logan continues to function as a colonial-style inn. It's beautifully preserved, just like the many ghosts that supposedly haunt it. So there were the 5 most haunted hotels in America. These places have lived on in infamy because of their paranormal and haunted reputations, and it's likely these hotels will continue to harbor their spirits for many more years to come. Remember to subscribe to our channel so every week we can bring you a new Scary Mysteries video to check out. Thanks for all the support, and I'll see you next week.
And that was Scary Mysteries with the let me bring up with the 5 most haunted hotels in America. And right now I think I'll read from you. It's called backpackerverse.com. It's the 10 creepiest haunted hotels in California. Again, some of these that I've already that have been talked about may show up here, so again, I apologize if they do. Alright, the 10 creepiest haunted hotels in California. California, the Golden State, awesome natural vistas, a perfect climate in which to enjoy them. Some of the greatest cities in the nation, as the 3rd largest state and arguably the leader in tourism. California has more than its fair share of amazing hotels. From seedy motels to ridiculously luxurious palaces catering to the rich and famous. Nobody visits California and wants for a place to stay. If your tastes run a little more towards the unusual, creepy, and bizarre, here are 10 hotels which you just might meet a ghost. Yes, that's right, spirits, paranormal entities. Who knows why these places attract the unknown? Maybe it's the high volume of people that pass through them from all walks of life. Maybe they have just had bad luck to be near points of psychic turmoil. Or maybe it's all just a story to lure in a few more guests. Regardless, these inns, motels, and bed and breakfasts all carry a history of unexplainable occurrences. Whether you're a seasoned ghost hunter or just another thrill seeker, or a skeptic who is just looking for free cable, these establishments are not to be missed. If you're going to a hotel just for cable, I wouldn't recommend that. Dish is probably the best way to go. Just be careful and keep an eye out as you settle in, or you might not check out. I like that. Number 10, the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. And I'm going to be reading a next website devoted just to that, but I'll read this anyway. In its day in the 1930s, the Cecil Hotel was considered a pretty nice place to stay. Budget rooms, but with a beautiful lobby and convenient access to all the wonders of Los Angeles. Unfortunate coincidence and unruly guests seemed to rule the day at the Cecil, though. A series of bizarre deaths tarnished the place's reputation, and its fate was sealed when not one but two serial killers chose to make their home there. The Cecil is considered a locus for paranormal activity, and ghost hunters often gather there to record EVP anomalies and search for other phenomena. Icing on the cake is American Horror Stories co-creator Ryan Murphy's statement that the hotel was the inspiration for the show's latest season. Number 9, the Joshua Tree Inn in Joshua Tree. Located just 5 miles from camping mecca Joshua Tree National Park, the Joshua Tree Inn is quaint and elegant. It's a nice spot to relax and recuperate before a day spent hiking through the rocky terrain of the park, and thousands of people have done just that. In 1973, singer-songwriter and guitarist Graham Parsons found his final rest there. The patron saint of Alternative County was a troubled soul, and his spirit apparently has not found peace even amongst the nature splendors of Joshua Tree. His spirit is said to haunt the inn to this day, moving small objects and causing other disturbances in the night. Number 8 was Hotel del Coronado. We've already read about that, so I'm going to move on to number 7. Welcome to the Hotel California. I know we've all heard the song. The famous song Hotel California by the Eagles has its origins in a real place. It is actually called the Hotel California, and it's down in Baja California. Multiple rooms in the establishment are thought to be haunted by a variety of ghosts. Most notable is the possibly murdered daughter of the owner, who watches over rooms 5 and 15. There she stood in the doorway. I heard a mission bell, and I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. Number 6, the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. Not all ghosts are out to scare us to death. The Fair Sisters, original founders of the Fairmont Hotel, are said to still inhabit the place. They impart a feeling of peace and rest on guests, and are thought to occasionally give them a loving caress in their sleep. Now, that would creep me out. I'm sorry. If I was sleeping in a hotel by myself and somebody touched me, I'd probably be out of there, but that's just me. And continuing on, a little creepy, but they mean well. The Fair Sisters were killed in the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. Souls released in the midst of sudden tragedy also have unfinished business, and it's not surprising that the sisters are still hanging around. Number 5, the Imperial Hotel in Amador City. The scenic and historic Imperial Hotel dates back to 1879. The stone and brick edifice was originally a store, but found its greatest success as a rest stop for gold rush prospectors. The Imperial is still open as a bed and breakfast today, and is thought to be haunted by a number of entities. Ghost hunters have frequently visited the place, and have most often encountered the ghost of a cowboy. Several hunters also spotting a white lady, a type of spirit that signals a nearby murder or suicide. Number 4, the Queen Anne Hotel in San Francisco. That was, I'm going to go ahead and skip that because it was talked about in one of the YouTube videos I played. Number 3, the Haunted Hotel in San Diego. Not actually a hotel. The Haunted Hotel is one of America's most intense and graphic Halloween haunted houses. The venue has been rated as the number 2 haunted house in the United States and is located in the heart of San Diego's Gaslamp District. Up to 24,000 people enter the attraction each year. Very, very few make it through to the end. The Haunted Hotel only accepts 2 guests at a time and puts them through incredibly severe horrors. Blood spatters, physical pushing and grabbing, and graphic scenes of violence and gore are common. Many people don't even make it past the first few rooms. How far would you go? And you can, if you'd like, you can comment for me on that. I'd like to hear. Me, I don't know. I'd probably make it through maybe half of it before I'd say enough's enough. But then again, you never know. I may go through the whole thing. It just depends. But yeah, go ahead and comment for me on that. Comment on, like I said, either my email or my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or even here on YouTube in the comments. I'd like to hear about that. Number 2, the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose. The building, now known as the Winchester Mystery House, was formerly a residence of Sarah Winchester. Sarah was the widow of William Wirt Winchester, founder of the famous gun manufacturer. After William's death, Sarah moved out west and purchased the San Jose home and quickly set to work ghost-proofing it. She firmly believed that she was haunted and pursued by the ghost of those killed by Winchester guns. After she spent the rest of her life defending against their spectral assault. Her weapon of choice was deception, and the house is riddled with secret passages, doors to nowhere, and other baffling architectural features. Today, the Winchester Mystery House is renowned by paranormal enthusiasts the world over. Ghost tours and seances are regularly available, and the home is also open as a hotel for exceptionally brave tourists. Number 1 is the Queen Mary, and we'll go ahead and skip that because we've talked about that already. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and play a little music for you. We'll take a little break and come back and play another video for you, and then we'll wrap things up. I'll read the Cecil Hotel story probably when we come back. I'm Glen Clark, and this is Stories of the Dark. welcome back to Stories of the Dark. I am Glen Clark, and we're talking about haunted hotels. Now, I'd like to share with you the 12 terrible and creepy things that have happened at the Cecil Hotel. And that comes from ranker.com, so you can have a look at that. I also have all the links posted at the bottom of the video in the descriptions section, as well as a video that I found. It was a surveillance video of Elisa Lam. She's the one that died in the, or supposedly, was found dead in the hotel's water tank, and some are saying that was a paranormal event, and some are saying she was murdered. It's kind of your guess on that one. So, anyway, from ranker.com, the Cecil Hotel has been the site of so many gruesome suicides, grisly murders, and unexplained deaths that it inspired Ryan Murphy to set the 5th season of American Horror Story in the Creepy Hotel. In addition to the number of guests who have died while visiting the Cecil, at least 2 serial killers have stayed at this notorious hotel during their killing sprees, making it the kind of place you just might want to sleep next door to a murderer. However, it wasn't until the LAPD released a disturbing video of a young woman who was later found dead on the roof of the hotel that the Cecil reached a level of infamy that required the owner to change the name to Stay on Main. Regardless of its name, this hotel is definitely the sort of place where you might check in, but you never check out. I like that. The Night Stalker lived at the Cecil while he was killing his victims. Richard Ramirez, a serial killer and rapist known as the Night Stalker, terrorized Los Angeles and San Francisco from June of 1984 to August of 1985, murdering at least 13 victims in a little over a year. A practicing Satanist, Ramirez brutally killed both men and women using a variety of weapons to take the lives of his victims, including a hammer, a tire iron, handguns, knives, and a machete. During the time Ramirez was breaking into homes in and around LA and assaulting, murdering, raping, and robbing the occupants, he was a guest at the Cecil Hotel. Ramirez died in a room on the top floor, and he paid just $14 a night for a place to return to after committing unspeakable acts of violence, often throwing his bloody clothing into the Cecil dumpster. By the time he was apprehended, Ramirez had finished his stay at the famed hotel, but his connection to the Cecil still lives on. Alicia Lamb's dead body was found in the hotel's water supply. In January 2013, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian tourist who was staying at the Cecil Hotel, went missing. Nearly 3 weeks passed before the young woman's nude body was found floating in a water tank on the building's roof. Disturbingly, a maintenance worker discovered Lam's corpse because he was investigating complaints from guests at the hotel who had reported poor water pressure. Others stated the water had a strange smell, color, and taste. Following the recovery of the young woman's remains, the LAPD released video footage from the hotel that showed Lam behaving strangely prior to her disappearance, leading some people to believe that she had been met with foul play. However, officials determined the 21-year-old died of drowning, and they think Lam, who was being treated for depression and bipolar disorder prior to her death, may have experienced mental health issues that caused her to crawl inside the tank and accidentally drown. An Austrian serial killer stayed at the Cecil while he killed women in California. Johann Jack Unterweger, an Austrian journalist and author who had been released from prison after murdering a teenage girl when he was a young man, stayed at the Cecil Hotel in 1991 while he was researching a story about crime in Los Angeles. Unbeknownst to authorities in Austria or the United States, following his parole from prison, Unterweger killed a number of women in Europe, and during his visit to California, he murdered 3 sex workers while he was a guest at the hotel at the Cecil. Unterweger, who had once served as a shining example of the power of rehabilitation, was eventually arrested and convicted of killing several victims, including the 3 women he murdered while visiting Los Angeles. Unterweger was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, but he hanged himself in his cell the night before he received his sentence. A woman threw her newborn out the window of her hotel room. In September 1944, 19-year-old Dorothy Jean Purcell was awakened by severe stomach pains while staying at the Cecil Hotel with Ben Levine, 38, careful not to wake Levine, who was sleeping in the bed beside her. Purcell went to the bathroom and, to her surprise, gave birth to a baby boy. The teenage